How did the Crusades influence medieval clothing? Have you ever wondered how a series of wars could change the way people dress? The Crusades, which took place from the late 11th century to the late 13th century, had a remarkable impact on medieval clothing. Before these military campaigns, clothing in Europe was quite simple. Most garments were made from local materials like wool and linen, reflecting limited trade and cultural exchange. Once the Crusades began, everything changed. New trade routes opened, connecting Europe with the Middle East. This increased contact brought new fabrics and styles into Europe. Archaeological evidence shows that after the Crusades, materials like silk, cotton, and fine wool became more common. These luxurious fabrics were often imported from the Middle East and Asia, thanks to the trade networks established by the Crusader states. The introduction of new materials was just the beginning. The Crusades also influenced clothing styles and techniques. One notable example is the surcoat, a loose outer garment worn by knights. Archaeological findings and artistic depictions suggest that knights adopted the surcoat partly to protect their chainmail from the sun while in the Holy Land. This practical adaptation allowed knights to display colors and heraldic symbols, which were important for identification and status. In addition to the surcoat, the Crusades led to the adoption of layered garments. The use of embroidery and patterns inspired by Islamic art became more prevalent. Textile fragments found in archaeological sites sometimes show these Eastern influences, blending European and Middle Eastern styles into something new and exciting. From an archaeological perspective, studying medieval clothing relies on surviving textile fragments, artistic representations, and written descriptions. Because clothing is perishable, direct evidence is rare. However, the data we do have points to increased variety and sophistication in medieval dress following the Crusades. These changes reflected broader patterns of cultural exchange and trade that defined the medieval period. Understanding how the Crusades influenced clothing helps archaeologists interpret the social and economic changes of that time. It also reveals how people adapted to new environments and ideas. Practical applications of this knowledge include using archaeological textile evidence to reconstruct medieval garments for museums or historical reenactments. By examining the impact of the Crusades on clothing, we gain a clearer picture of the cultural shifts that occurred during the medieval period. The influence of the Crusades on medieval clothing is a fascinating example of how historical events can reshape everyday life.